Welcome, Substackers. All right, here today on Raw and Unfiltered, Tara Palmeri, superstar journalist extraordinaire, and now new to Substack as well. We welcome you all. Tara, how we doing there?
Thanks for having me on the show, Michael. It feels great
Uh,
to be here.
Fantastic to have you. In fact, Tara's going to be on my Mea Culpa podcast for
Yep.
an hour-long conversation that, well, gets raw and unfiltered.
Yeah.
We
We got
don't
into it a
necessarily
few
go.
times. We definitely got into a few
Well,
little
we certainly
back and
look.
forth.
You remember Ed Koch had a very interesting statement where he said, "If you agree with me 6 out of 12 times, you should vote for me. If you agree with me 12 out of 12 times, you should see a psychiatrist." We're not supposed to, right? We're not supposed to
Right.
agree with each other on
No.
everything, but we're supposed to agree with each other on the important things. And that's sort of, what makes the horse race here. I certainly agree with you, and I know you agree with me, that the Constitution is the single most important document in order to preserve our democratic republic. And right now, I believe, and I think you do as well, that our Constitution is under attack.
Yeah. I do agree that it's under attack and they're trying to stretch the limits of it, but I don't actually think that they will be able to do it because of the fact that you need 2/3 of the House and Senate to ratify the Constitution. And I think Trump is losing his political will and might every single day. And we're going to see tonight at the special elections whether he loses, 2 House seats. I don't think he will. They may hold on to them, but if it's a very narrow win in a seat that was won by 30 points, that's a reflection on him and his ability to even pass any legislation. It's really hard in the lame duck to get much done. And so I think like political nerds like us will be watching that because that's like a temperature reading. That's like
Yeah.
sticking a thermometer in the mouth and finding out how much does your base care about you. These are base elections. Those are the people that come out and vote. And how riled up are the Democrats right now?
Well,
Are they leaving the
you're right.
House?
You're right. And by the way, they should. But, the big concern is, again, Elon Musk with his significant wealth is there in Wisconsin doing things that let me ask you this, right? You hand an elder person a bottle of water at a voting site and you are in violation of the law and can be arrested.
Mm-hmm.
How is handing somebody a bottle of water because it's hot as shit out or whatever it might be, how is that anywhere on par with Elon Musk running these sort of lotteries that if you sign up for it, you could win $1 million?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not really sure how that differentiates itself
I mean,
from.
there are questions about whether it's legal what he's doing,
That's
certainly.
my
But it's
point.
always the problem with the the
FEC.
FEC, Federal Election Commission. Sometimes I say FCC, Federal Communications. Problem with the FEC is that they never ever investigate any of this stuff, and that's because it's divided. It's half Democrats, half Republicans on the board, and they never investigate this kind of stuff. So while people say, "Oh, is that legal? Should they be allowed to do that?" There's most certainly never an investigation that ever happens about any of these things. So people commit all sorts of election fraud all the time. And it never gets investigated,
Ooh.
like Ron DeSantis probably did during his campaign when he raised nearly $200 million, and basically a super PAC ran the entire campaign. There's a reason there's supposed to be a firewall between a super PAC and the candidate, but it seemed like the super PAC was really running the whole campaign. So again, like, is this legal? Should he be doing it? We'll probably
I mean,
never,
the answer is
nothing will ever happen.
right, but
And of course, not during the Trump years,
right.
especially not during the Trump years.
That's also
Yes, and that's
true.
true. Wisconsin law is not federal law,
That's right.
but we'll see who wins. If it's a judge that's a conservative, then you're certainly not going to, I can see prosecutor taking it up.
But that's the whole thing. See, the FEC, meaning federal, they have no enforcement power. What they do is they basically issue decisions. I know I had an FEC complaint that was raised against me going back in like 2011 when I went to just go check out Iowa for Trump before we even decided, and he
Right.
ultimately decided not to run, because I used his plane. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was somebody that's a big Trump supporter now, went ahead and They filed an FEC complaint against me. They have no enforcement power. But as one of our substackers turned around and said, yeah, this would be a Wisconsin violation of state election law.
Mm.
And, the question becomes, as you rightfully put it, will anything ever, or anyone that's part of the Trump team, the enablers, ever be held accountable for anything, for any violation? It is clearly an election law violation, but you're right. We'll see what happens with with the judge, and whether or not even the attorney general wants to bring up a case like this.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I just can't imagine any of that will ever happen. You've got, like, I know it's a Wisconsin state court, but like, I mean, it's a Wisconsin law, but if prosecutors don't bring cases that they think they're going to lose, that you're a lawyer, like, how it works. And so if you feel like politically these cases are not going to go anywhere, they don't tend to waste their time. They move on the docket that's probably really high. And, so this is going to be an issue, and he'll keep doing this. And it's really, like, he's right. He's not wrong. It's great for press. We're talking about it right now.
Yeah, 100%, right? He's in all of our heads. But you're right. This is a barometer. It's a true barometer for, I think, where the country's looking. But then it's great because you have the GOP right now with Karoline Leavitt sitting there and talking about how successful Doge has been, how great this first 100 days, the first at least 2 months of this new administration, that they have accomplished more than any other presidential team in the history of America. And bullshit Barbie says it with such a straight face. I find it comical. And
Bullshit Barbie.
and it's crazy because
I'm writing that one down for a second because it's just nice.
And
It's just hilarious.
It is, right? Because that's what she's like, bullshit Barbie sitting up there. This one journalist turned around and said, we were talking about, for example, the deportations, and they have this new rule. And the rule is on 8 points. I don't know if you heard about this. For like Trent
Yes, I watched
Duragua.
this video. Yeah.
Right. So to substackers, here's how the 8 points works. 4 points you get based upon a tattoo that they deem to be gang affiliated, whether it's MS-13,
The Crown, yeah.
right? Trent Duragua. By the way, you know who also has the crown tattoo? A buddy of mine. That's the crown from Basquiat, Jean-Michel Basquiat. Who's the famous artist around the time of Warhol. So he has one on his arm. So would that mean that he's Trent Duragua? No, right? Then on top of that, you can also get 4 points for the clothing that you wear. So appropriately, like yourself, Tara, a journalist asks bullshit Barbie a question, and she says, "You're fake news, that you're not telling the truth. That's not what it says." He goes, "I'm reading it right now from government documents that you guys put in opposition to Judge Boberg's determination, or to put in for Judge Boberg's determination." And she refused to, then she shut him down and moved on to somebody else. See, the problem with that is, if you are MAGA and complete MAGA, you're not listening to that journalist at all, even if that journalist happens to be with Fox News.
You can't even really, the other problem is that she's the one that's mic'd up and the journalist isn't, because this person is clearly not a print journalist, or, the way that the person's clearly a print journalist, or they're not on TV. So you really can't even hear that person's
I know
question.
You were able to hear the question.
I heard it, but like her denials, just even the tone and sound are just so much louder and overwhelming, that and shaming, like, how dare you even question this, that it creates this impression
you want to see Trent Duragua wreak havoc on the American
you're not
people.
A patriot for asking, why would you want, exactly. It's really intense. I mean, it's amazing because Karoline has gotten so much better since when she started.
She's good, right?
Yes. I mean, she's like one of his best communicators I've ever seen, actually. And
She's able to take complete and total bullshit and make it into something like, Tara, how dare you bring that up? You're not only un-American, you're unconstitutional in your thought. Do you really want to see young children, young girls being
she said
raped and
terrorist
beaten?
twice. Yes, she said terrorize, terrorists. It just hits on those words that freak people out. And like we mentioned on your podcast, they chose the right fight to press the boundaries of the law, the judicial law, constitution, etc. Because who wants a gang member in their house? Like, I mean, in their neighborhood or in their, it's a popular topic for the Republicans. And it's not just Republicans, it's obviously swing voters who voted for Trump on immigration, fears of immigration. So they're going after the right fights. And obviously, like, they don't care about they don't care about the facts, you know what I mean? But they're choosing the right fight. They're choosing the
Yep.
politically advantageous ones rather than going after something that maybe only their base cares about.
It's very true. And the funnier part is she starts talking about how the economy is doing better now than ever before, and that only thanks to President Trump is he getting our economy back on track as a direct result, of course, of the failed previous Biden administration policies. Despite the fact that I think we had 9 straight, quarters, nine straight quarters of increase. For the first quarter that Trump is already in, we're already down like 7%. GDP is down, inflation is up.
That's Biden's fault, Michael.
Of
Don't
course
you
it has
forget
to be.
that.
It has to be Biden's fault. But the funniest part is that
That was,
Fox News did a poll that 56% of the American people do not favor the way that Trump is handling the economy. But then again, bullshit Barbie sitting up there smiling. She got great teeth, by the way.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, whoever did her teeth. I mean, I know she's young, but she's got great teeth, and she's looks right into the camera. She looks right to people.
She's a killer. Like,
She
I bet
is.
you Trump is very happy with her. She's first of all, Spicer was stuttering and barely able to command the room. Sarah Huckabee Sanders looked like she had been forced in there, like a prisoner up into that
Right, like it was a
room.
hostage video.
Yeah, it was like a hostage.
She's sitting there and she's reading her cue card, right? And it's got
Everything was like
Donald
the
Trump
binder.
is the
You know when
greatest
a press
president of
secretary,
all time.
yeah, a press secretary is nervous when they look down at the binder a lot. Now, are they getting the information and getting the right things? Yes, that's probably what they should be doing, is actually looking through and trying to get the right information. But if you are Donald Trump's press secretary, this is as good as it gets. I can't imagine anyone better than her.
By the way, me too. And she's young, right? I mean, she's like what, 27 years old?
Yes.
I mean, literally like straight out of, I don't even know what she was doing before. I know she got married.
Right. She's been with him. No. Michael, she's been with him since she was like 20 something years old. Like right out of college, she was in the White House. She was just really junior.
Was she? She was there the first
Yeah,
go around?
she was there. She
Because I know
was
that
super
I know
junior.
that her affiliation to Trump is that her husband, who I think is like 30 years her senior,
Yeah, he's like a 6-year-old guy.
yeah, he's very successful, and they're big donors. They were big donors during the campaign. That's how she opened. But yeah, she's fucking fantastic when it comes to this.
She ran for House too, and she got better at that. She ran for a House seat in New Hampshire.
Yeah, well,
But in
good for her.
between, like after leaving the White House, she ran for a House seat, and now, and I heard from people that know her really well that like all she did was like hit the phones and do radio hits over and over and over again to get better and better because she wasn't that great. I mean, this is someone who has like, I don't know if she believes what she's saying, but she's just like a killer. Just like it.
100%. By the way, you know who just joined us? My good pal Harry Dunn, who, by the way, I left message for yesterday. We are going to be doing, Harry, since you're on, we're going to be doing, I'm going to take this moment, right, in order to save myself a phone call. We're doing a town hall here in the city. Jim Acosta, myself, Jamie Raskin said he's in. We got Tara's going to be in, and a couple
I'll
of
be
other
there.
people. I was trying to, and I screwed up this morning when I put in Hakeem Jeffries instead of Cory Booker on my Substack. Of course, I changed it, but that's because I was writing down also my things to do today. I want Hakeem Jeffries, who I bumped into not too long ago at the Regency at a breakfast. I want him to be a speaker as well for one of these town halls. So, Harry, let me know that you're in.
He said, call me. I saw that in the comments.
Yeah, well, I will be calling you. Look, there's so much going on right now. It's beyond scary. Obviously, today is April Fool's Day, and that is not an April Fool's joke. We are actually doing this town hall. Tomorrow, of course, is
He's
D-Day,
in.
or as
Harry's
Trump,
in.
or as, what's that? He's
Harry's
in?
in. And
Thank
Cory
you,
Booker
Harry.
is still talking, according to Bill Bailey.
He's probably doing like what the other guy did, start reading Green Eggs and Ham. But as of tomorrow, we have, D-Day, which Trump has now dubbed. It's dubbed Liberation Day. It's the day that America gets liberated. I'm just trying to figure out who the fuck are we getting liberated from?
Can I just say, Michael, after all those years with him, I would think that your impression would be a little bit better.
You
I
don't think
hate
my
to
impression
review.
is good?
I was hoping it would be better. I didn't think it was
Even
good enough.
even Matt Friend turned around and said to me that he thought that my impression was fantastic.
Oh, really? He was flattering
Yeah.
you. I thought it would be better.
Oh, quite frankly, you're nasty, Tara. Tara, quite frankly, you're a nasty person. You know,
Yeah, okay, I'll take it. I'm just ribbing
you,
you, but
you really
I'm
have that ability. There's a lot of things that we can do that you should be doing, but you're not.
yeah, there are
Yeah,
a lot of things I should be doing that I'm
yeah.
not, but
But let me tell you. So going back to
call my mom.
right. So going back to tomorrow, we're going to find out a lot. But here's the crazy thing. People think that the tariff is like anything that comes from China is going to be now 25% higher tariff on top of the already 25% tariff on all goods. That is just one tiny, it's just one thing. 25. It's not how it works. It goes by industry. There's over 20,000 different industries that are affected in different ways based upon how the tariff and what the percentage is going to be. Most people don't know that. They think it's like anything from Canada is going to be 25%. Anything from Mexico is going to be 25% or 100% or 200 if it's some I don't know, champagne or alcohol or wine. They have different tariff numbers. So there really needs to be a thorough document based upon how this tariff policy is going to work. The problem is nobody there wants to do the work. What they want to do is they want the win. It's all about the win instead of turning around and saying, oh, okay, like our tax code, right? It's got like 19,000 pages to it. You need a policy book so that people know what industry is paying what, so that they can try to figure shit out. And that way Wall Street will be able to get rid of the uncertainty that's causing the crashing in the market.
I mean, isn't that what politics is all about? Is confusing the hell out of everyone and
Boy,
continuing.
you are cynical today.
No,
Wow.
I'm just sorry. I mean, this is a playbook used by both sides, I would say, though.
Right,
It's
but
just
right
like
now
felt.
I'm not talking about both sides because we have never placed 100% or the way that Trump is using tariffs. Somebody explained to him tariffs the wrong way.
Who
And
was
once it's
it?
in his
Peter
head,
Navarro?
I don't know if it's Peter Navarro. I don't know if it's Steve Bannon. I don't know if
You
it's Steve Miller. I don't know if it's Lutnick doing it. I don't know. But it's
But
in
you
his
did
head.
mention that you mentioned the other day that he's always been sort of interested in the trade deficit that we have.
Yeah, but not in terms of tariffs. He was interested in it to try to understand how is it that the United States that we have an unfair trade agreements whereby, say, Canada makes $200 billion more on America by sending us product than we send to them. Well, maybe, let's see, maybe, for example, with soft lumber, that they have the wood that we need in order to do
Mm.
construction. Oh, you know where we make it up on? Fucking construction costs for development, for real estate taxes, and so on. It all ultimately, there's not one sort of Excel spreadsheet that goes, everything is interrelated. We're bringing in the lumber. Okay, we're bringing in lumber. We don't have lumber to sell them, right? So we're paying for this lumber, but that lumber's being used, and developers are making money. People are buying, the houses. It also helps to, of course, without nails, what's the value of wood? So somebody's maybe manufacturing nails. Then on top of that, you have real estate taxes coming in, both city and state, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's not myopic. It is expansive, and he just doesn't want to listen to what the damages that tariff, creating a tariff war with the whole world. Because another thing that he said, it's not just going to be the countries that he's talking, it's all countries. So he
Yeah.
basically wants America to become, an isolationist country.
Well, okay, here's something. I don't think that we should have. I do believe that we need to correct the trade deficit. Okay, globalization has hit Americans in like a very, very difficult way. But this happened a while ago. This happened like 20 years ago, and it's going to take another decade to fix it if we ever are able to truly fix it. Things have changed so much in this globalized society. So like, but it's interesting because I covered the European Union. I was based in Brussels, and like at the time, there were negotiations going on. This was during the Obama years to do a TTIP. It was the Trans-Pacific, Transatlantic Partnership deal, and the Europeans, they were protesting the idea of having a trade deal with the U.S. because they felt that our exports weren't up to their standards. They thought that we had too many hormones in our meats. They called our chicken chlorine chicken. They said that we didn't regulate our goods enough. They felt that our food was subpar and that our products were subpar. And actually, when you live in Europe, you never see an American car on the roads there. I will say that there are no American cars on the roads there. They
No,
are
you
very
see, you see him, you just don't see him in volume.
no. I lived in Brussels. I never saw one. Everybody,
Really?
like, yeah, literally never saw a Ford truck, never saw anything Ford, never saw anything that was like GMC. I didn't see a single one. I lived there for 2 years. There was an issue, and it does need to be corrected. Does it need to be done this way? I don't know. But also at the same time, we have to be aware that like the standard of our foods and the standard of our products has to be better. I'm not saying our cars aren't good enough. That's an imbalance that needs to be corrected. But like also it's just probably more expensive to ship cars across the sea. Whereas if you trade within your continent, it's just easier. Like everyone had German cars, or Italian cars in Belgium or French cars. And they really just traded within that European Union. And they were actually very hesitant to do any outside trade deals, even with Asia. Um, and so, like, all countries are kind of nativists in a lot of ways. And in particular, that bloc, they can be that way. I don't think he's entirely wrong about trying to even out the imbalance. The way he's doing it is frightening because it's like random. Like you said, it doesn't feel like it's completely thought out. But just getting people to the table to having that discussion is a big deal because I do remember this dragging on for years and years and years during the Obama administration. And then Trump won and it all fell apart. So if this is a way to like make things happen, I don't know. It might not be the worst thing. I mean, the only thing is like he's complaining about the what's the bill? What did he call USMDA or USMCA that he created after NAFTA? He's complaining about the trade deficit with Canada and Mexico. He had a chance to do that with his UMCA. Why
Right.
why are you complaining about it now?
Because he needs something to complain about, right?
Right.
To
I mean,
distract
I
himself.
thought yeah, there's probably more work to be done, but like you could have done that. Here's the other thing, Michael. Like he's got so many things on his plate. As we know, he's lame duck, which probably explains why he's like third term, third term, third term. Um, how is he going to get the tariffs like and win public support when we're teetering on a recession and Doge is cutting federal jobs and then pass tax cuts that seem to favor the wealthy and corporations? So like how is he going to do all of that, and balance the budget? And there's just so many things that he's trying to do at this time. um it doesn't feel like thought out. It just feels like madness. It doesn't feel like there's method to it.
Well,
And so
as I describe it, it's like opening up a fire hose of executive orders and concepts. There's no policy. There's no written policies behind any of this. Not from Doge, not from the White House, from no one. There's no policy regarding tariffs. The information, for example, just going back to that conversation between the journalist and what's her name? Bullshit Barbie, Karoline Leavitt.
Yeah.
You know, there's no policy. He got that information literally from the court filing that was sent to Boasberg as to why the deportations are legal. You can't go ahead and look up some sort of a policy, whether it's, a proposed policy or not. The policy exists in their heads. And they're just running with these concepts. Yeah, I want to balance the budget. That's fucking phenomenal. Great. We're all for it. But you can't balance the budget by stripping seniors of Social Security, right? I mean, you can't think that that's going to be acceptable, that people aren't going to be getting their Social Security checks because Elon Musk claims to have found something. Do you realize that they're also telling the American people that they have already found, and this is classic Trump, where he goes, especially with the accordion hands, which is the automatic tick tell that he's lying. That
Is it?
Yeah, it's a tell. When he goes like this,
What
he's
does this
lying.
mean?
No, that's the YMCA dance.
It's gross. I mean,
What they're lying about is they're claiming that Doge has already found. First, he went $500 billion. Then he went up to $800 billion. In fact, according to him, it's over $1 trillion in fraud, waste, and abuse that the great Elon Musk has managed to find. None of that is true, by the way. So, Substackers, let me be clear about this. None of that is true. If, in fact, any of it was true, they would be putting it out for all to see and to validate and verify. What they think is validation and verification is Elon Musk putting it out on his Doge account on X, which it's words, but there's no backup for any of it. And they'll only put up certain bits and pieces in order to try to prove what they're saying, which, by the way, in law is known as hearsay, right? It's an out-of-court statement that's offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted. It is a lie. There is not $1 trillion that Elon Musk has found. And if you want to find something, why don't you start with the $80 million that the U.S. taxpayer has paid so far to date to ensure Trump doesn't lose his golf game?
that's a good point. Also, we should just look at the contracts that Elon Musk has and see if they put out options to other bidders and see if they could offer a better deal.
$9 million a day he makes off of
Yeah.
government contracts. $9 million a day.
One of my friends who's in aircraft space said that he runs space from NASA for $1. He rents a launch pad every year for $1 for 20 years lease. Imagine that.
Ooh, how do I get a deal like that?
I want a launch pad up to space for $1. Now, granted, it probably costs them a few $1,000,000 a year to maintain it, right? And that saves NASA some money, but it's a good deal. It's got some good deals.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, look, that's the whole problem. This group, they're just flooding us with misinformation, with disinformation, with malinformation. And it doesn't benefit the American people, as you said correctly. It only benefits a very small group of people. Very, very small.
Well, I think that Trump and the team are aware of that, and that's why you're starting to hear stories coming out about advisors saying, "Well, we might need to tax the wealthy because if this looks like tax on tips, he doesn't come through with that. No tax on tips, which he promised. No tax on overtime. No tax on Social Security and other benefits. If he doesn't come through with that, they're going to really face a shellacking during the midterms, which they will anyway. I'm almost certain that Democrats will take back the House, but how bad is it? Is it going to be the next day there are impeachment hearings?
No. I don't think that there will be. First of all, it was stupid of the Democrats to do the 2 impeachment hearings. Why? Because while the House may have been Democratic controlled, the Senate was Republican controlled. And the Republicans were not, under any circumstance, no matter what evidence was there, no matter what the charges were, no matter what the House found in their investigation, the Senate was not going to impeach. Plain and simple. So what's the point? It's sort of like trying to swim upstream. It's just an impossibility. Okay, maybe if you're like the greatest swimmer in the entire world, maybe you'll get halfway, but it doesn't work that way. So what did they do? They made a fucking spectacle of it, thinking that it was going to be helpful in the elections. In fact, it was not. And I thought a lot of the Democrats that were involved actually did a really piss poor job. You know, the grandstanding is the part that Trump and the Republicans used in order to turn people off, to the Democratic Party.
Yeah, you got to be careful. That's why you can't, don't wave a red flag when there isn't a fire. And you have to be moderate with the facts and make sure you're, because people didn't tune you out. They're like, you're the boy who cried wolf. And I think that was a big part of the Mueller investigation.
Yep.
For someone like my grandmother, who was glued to the screen watching the, MSNBC, being like, what's going on? She turned it off after there was no findings from Robert Mueller. And so it's about trust, and you have to be kind of, got to pick your battles if you're going to go into that fight.
Yep.
But we're at a half hour now, Michael. This was really fun.
Yeah.
We should do it again.
So listen, let me say thank you to you, Tara. Make sure
Thank
everybody
you.
join. Okay, so follow Tara. And what's the name of your paper?
It's called The Red Letter. It's a regular newsletter with lots of political news. My YouTube page. I hope you'll support me. It's independent journalism. I come from mainstream media. I came from Politico, ABC News, New York Post, and now I'm out on my own. And I'm doing it because I really believe that I'm not interested in being edited or produced. I want it to be real conversation, create a community based on trust, based on my investigative reporting. And, that's more important to me than anything else. So I hope you'll support me. Can only do it with your help. And thanks, Michael, for having me on. Excited to see you in person soon. That'll be fun.
It's gonna be great. I'll get you all the details, and of course, our Substackers are going to be the first ones to know where it's going to be live streamed and so on. But we're gonna have a very, very interesting, and it's gonna be a raw and unfiltered rally. That I can assure you.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Okay,
Right.
talk
Thanks,
soon.
Tara.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you,
Bye.
Substackers. Bye now.